Do your research beforehand. Usually, a national event will have some sort of a website. This is a good place to find information. Also, your local activist scene may have some info on what's going to happen. By knowing what's being planned, you'll have a good idea of what you're about to get yourself into. Deal with logistics. You'll need a place to stay, transportation, and food for a few days. Take care of these details beforehand so you won't be distracted by them at the event. Don't forget your special black bag that we discussed earlier. When you arrive, make contact with some organizers. Often, there will be a welcome center where you can get a schedule of events and start developing a plan. The Welcome Center is also a good place to talk to people and perhaps find out about unscheduled actions, which might be more interesting than the scheduled activities. Remember that there is a fine balance between finding out about activities and respecting people's security and anonymity. Recon the area of town where the event will take place. Knowing the layout before things happen will help you plan a more productive day. When you're covering a national event, you'll apply the same skills used for covering a local event, only on a larger scale. It may go all day and into the night, or even last for several days.
There are many different issues and reasons people will travel to a national event. One reason people show up is to confront the megastructures of global capital and police state oppression in person. The global elite that organize these meetings like to guard themselves in a fortress-like setting and surround themselves with a highly trained army. An occupying force of police, National Guard, and even soldiers may be cross-trained and acting as one unit. As global resistance intensifies, expect increased state retaliation. While people come together in the streets to confront the state, your role as a guerrilla media journalist provides an essential link to the truth suppressed by corporate propaganda. This leads to possibly the most difficult guerrilla media skills to master: attaining implied consent from the action and documenting a pivotal moment in time. With that in mind, now you're ready to tape a wild street battle.
At national events, the state's forces will usually have months of training specifically for the event and will have all sorts of special equipment. They will come ready for war in militarized cadres. The most common tactic is intimidation through numbers. They also like to infiltrate crowds and communication systems, and they will sometimes deploy snatch squads to target specific activists. When the cops attack in force, the situation can break down into pandemonium. As a videographer, it is important for you to document the scene, but as a guerrilla journalist, you are also there to back people up on the street. Like a street medic, you will seek out the hottest crisis spots to give support where it is needed. Here are some scenarios to expect.
Tear gas. This chemical agent is a powder that is discharged from a can. Its main purpose is to incapacitate through the loss of vision and the inability to breathe. Even cheap gas masks work well in these situations, but be aware of those ones with glass eyepieces, especially in rubber bullet zones. Quick field remedies are to wash out your eyes with water and wear a vinegar-soaked bandana around the nose. Tear gas assaults provide one of the most photogenic aspects of documenting a riot. This is one of the rawest visual moments of state repression out there. After you get some simple, basic shots, try for some more artistic ones. Pepper spray. This chemical agent targets people more individually than tear gas and has similar but more intense effects. The personal nature of a pepper spray attack should be reflected in how you tape it. Rubber bullets. These weapons are used to create terror in the crowd. Rubber bullets are very random and can really sting, but are mostly only dangerous around the face. Try to tape these assaults from a side angle. If you tape them from straight on, be sure to look away. Water cannons. The main purpose of a water cannon is to secure a small buffer zone away from demonstrators. These provide great visuals with very little personal risk. Avoid getting so close that the mist fogs up your lens. Tear gas, pepper spray, rubber bullets, and water cannons have been the primary tactics of control by the state up to the present. But you should definitely expect changes in the future. If you have permission, or you have been invited there to tape, then people shouldn't have a problem with being taped. If you're a stranger to the group, then there are a few things to be aware of. If people are performing, wearing costumes, or speaking to the crowd, you can assume that they're okay with being taped. Don't freak people out. When taping crowds, keep it vague and don't fixate on individuals, especially if they are clearly uncomfortable. Pay attention to vibes. When I'm taping a crowd, I like to think of them as general characters, not as individuals, and then I try to tape for this effect. If people are masked, respect their autonomy. If you find yourself in a riot zone and you still feel welcome to tape, here are a few pointers. Tape from behind. Tape from a distance. Don't show faces, and don't incriminate someone. Don't be sketchy. If your intentions for taping are malicious, people will know, so don't do it.
Now you might be thinking of covering an international event. If you are, then here are a few things to consider. Border patrols will be very interested in your story and on heightened alert. It's important to have it straight. Where you're going, who you're staying with, how long you'll be there, and why. As the war on terror escalates, having your story straight at the border may become more important.
Not having my story straight or a passport at the border got me detained for 3 days while attempting to cover the FTAA protests in Quebec City. A mistake I don't plan to repeat again.
Be aware of anti-American sentiment. People find Americans to be arrogant and pushy in their countries. Don't expect them to know English. Get a phrase book and learn enough for basic communication and for interviews. The scope of events around the world can be very intense. Many aspects of life may be very different than you're used to in America, including the level of state repression on public dissent. Prepare yourself well before you go.